Dr. Cassandra Vale's fingers hovered over the quantum interface, her breath creating small clouds in the crisp air of the underground laboratory. The facility, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, housed humanity's most ambitious attempt to breach the walls between dimensions. She glanced at the holographic display, where streams of data confirmed what she had suspected for months. The quantum frequency patterns weren't random. They were a language. Dr. Vale called out her research partner, Dr. Raj Patel, his voice carrying a mix of excitement and apprehension. The harmonic resonance is stabilizing. Whatever you're doing, it's working. Cassandra nodded, her dark eyes fixed on the shifting patterns before her. 6 years of research, countless failed attempts, and 3 competing theories about dimensional communications had led to this moment. The quantum bridge, as they called it, was essentially a telephone to other dimensions, if only they could figure out the right number to dial. Running final calibration sequence, announced Dr. Nikolai Volkov from his station, his fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. The Russian physicist had joined the project 2 years ago, bringing with him revolutionary ideas about quantum entanglement that had proven crucial to their breakthrough. The air in the laboratory seemed to thicken, carrying a strange metallic taste that made everyone's teeth ache. Warning indicators flashed across several screens, but Cassandra knew they couldn't stop now. They were too close. Power fluctuation at 60% above normal parameters, called out Dr. Yuki Tanaka, their quantum engineer. Her usually calm demeanor showed signs of stress as she worked to maintain stability in their systems. Dr. Vale, we need to decide, continue or abort. Cassandra's mind raced through the calculations. The risks were enormous, but the potential payoff was even greater. Continue. Redirect power from secondary systems if needed. The quantum bridge hummed to life, its crystalline structure pulsing with an inner light that seemed to bend in impossible ways. The team watched in amazement as the space before them began to distort, like reality itself was being gently pulled aside. And then they received the response. It wasn't what anyone had expected. Instead of the mathematical sequences they had been broadcasting, they received something far more complex, a cascade of quantum information that simultaneously existed in multiple states, carrying what appeared to be emotional content alongside raw data. This is impossible, Raj whispered, staring at the readings. The information density, it's orders of magnitude beyond anything we thought possible. Before Cassandra could respond, every screen in the laboratory lit up with the same message, translated from the quantum data stream. You have awakened. We have been waiting. The message repeated in every human language, then in mathematical sequences, and finally in pure quantum states that somehow conveyed meaning directly to their minds. The effect was overwhelming, causing several team members to stumble back from their stations. Dr. Vale, Nikolai called out, his voice tight with concern. Something's coming through. The quantum bridge, it's being used as a focal point. The air in the center of the laboratory began to crystallize, forming structures that shouldn't have been possible in our reality. They watched as something stepped through, or perhaps emerged would be a better description. The being before them existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, its form shifting between states that the human mind struggled to process. We are the Nexus Collective. The being communicated, not through sound, but through quantum variations that their minds interpreted as speech. You have reached the necessary threshold. The harvest can begin. Cassandra stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. What harvest? What threshold? Your species has achieved quantum communication capability. This indicates readiness for ascension. We have been guiding your development since your earliest ancestors first looked to the stars. The implications hit Cassandra like a physical blow. You've been watching us? Manipulating our development? We are the gardeners of consciousness, the being explained. We see potential across multiple dimensions, waiting for species to reach the point where they can perceive us. Your achievement today marks you as ready. Alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Yuki's fingers flew across her console. Multiple quantum anomalies detected worldwide. They're opening bridges everywhere. The Nexus being's form shifted, becoming more complex. Resistance is expected but unnecessary. Your species will be elevated, your consciousness harvested and integrated into the collective. This is the purpose for which you were cultivated. Cassandra's mind raced. The quantum bridge was still active, still maintaining the connection that had allowed this being to manifest. With trembling fingers, she began adjusting parameters, attempting to understand the nature of the bridge they had created. Dr. Vale, Raj warned, whatever you're thinking. They've been manipulating us, Raj. Everything we've achieved, they're claiming it was all by design. I refuse to accept that. The being observed her actions with what might have been amusement. Your species' determination is admirable but irrelevant. The process has begun. Cassandra's fingers flew across the quantum interface. If the bridge could be opened, it could be closed. But more importantly, if they could understand the principles behind it, they might find a way to fight back. Nikolai, Yuki, I need you to record everything. Every quantum signature, every dimensional frequency. Raj, start analyzing the being's communication patterns. There has to be something we can use. As her team scrambled to action, Cassandra faced the Nexus being. You say you've been watching us? Then you should know. Humans don't take well to being controlled. We're not your garden to harvest. The being's form pulsed with what might have been amusement or concern. Your species' defiance was anticipated. It is one of the traits we cultivated. But you cannot comprehend the scale of what is beginning. The harvest is inevitable. As if to emphasize the point, new alarms began sounding. Reports flooded in from around the world. More beings emerging, more quantum bridges opening. Humanity's first contact was rapidly becoming humanity's first invasion. Cassandra looked at her team, seeing determination replace fear in their eyes. They had opened this door, however unknowingly. Now they had to find a way to close it, or give humanity the tools to fight back. The quantum bridge pulsed with new energy, and Cassandra returned to her work. The future of humanity would be decided in the coming hours, and it would begin here, in this underground laboratory, with the very technology that had brought this crisis upon them. The harvest was beginning, but humanity wasn't finished evolving yet. Lieutenant Marcus Rhodes stood at the viewport of the underground bunker beneath Fort Bragg, watching holographic displays track the spread of quantum anomalies across the globe. Each glowing point represented another breach, another location where the Nexus Collective had pierced the veil between dimensions. 72 hours after first contact, and humanity's military response had proven pathetically inadequate. Sir, called out Sergeant Diana Martinez, her dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. We're receiving new data from the Quantum Research Facility in the Rockies. Dr. Vale's team thinks they've found something. Marcus moved to her station, studying the incoming data stream. As head of the newly formed Quantum Defense Initiative, he'd been tasked with coordinating humanity's military response to an enemy that barely seemed to exist in their dimension. Traditional weapons passed through the Nexus beings like they were shooting at smoke, and conventional tactics meant nothing against an enemy that could simply step sideways through reality. Put it on the main screen, he ordered, and the central display lit up with complex quantum readings alongside genetic data. His eyes widened as he processed what he was seeing. This can't be right, muttered Dr. Owen Fletcher, their lead geneticist. The older man adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses, his weathered face creased with concentration. These patterns in our DNA, they're not random mutations. They're engineered sequences, dormant but present in every human being we've tested. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. They said they'd been guiding our development. This is what they meant. The door to the command center hissed open, admitting Colonel Victoria Santos, her uniform pristine despite the chaos of the past 3 days. Lieutenant Rhodes, I need you in Lab 7. Now. The urgency in her voice caught his attention. Marcus nodded to his team and followed the colonel through the winding corridors of the facility. Lab 7 was their most secure testing area, used for experiments too dangerous or classified for the main labs. Inside, he found a scene that defied explanation. Private James Chin stood in the center of the room, surrounded by monitoring equipment. The young soldier's body seemed to shimmer, his outline blurring as if he existed in multiple places simultaneously. It started 20 minutes ago, Colonel Santos explained, her voice tight. He was helping set up new quantum sensors when something activated. Watch. Private Chin raised his hand, and reality rippled. A small object, a coffee mug, seemed to shift through space, moving from one location to another without crossing the distance between. How is this possible? Marcus asked, though he already suspected the answer. Dr. Fletcher, who had followed them into the lab, was already reviewing the readings. The dormant sequences in his DNA, they're active. The quantum exposure from the sensors must have triggered something. Marcus approached Private Chin, noting the mix of fear and excitement in the young soldier's eyes. How does it feel? Strange, sir, Chin replied, his voice steady despite his obvious discomfort. It's like I can feel the spaces between spaces. Like reality has seams, and I can slip through them. Before Marcus could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Sergeant Martinez's voice came over the intercom. Lieutenant Rhodes to command, immediately. The Nexus Collective is broadcasting worldwide. They rushed back to the command center, where every screen showed the same crystalline patterns they'd come to associate with the interdimensional beings. The message that followed sent chills through everyone present. Your awakening proceeds as designed. The harvest approaches. Resistance will only accelerate the process. Sir, Martinez called out, her voice tight with urgency. We're getting reports worldwide. More people are changing. Soldiers, civilians, anyone exposed to quantum energy from the breaches. They're developing abilities similar to Private Chin's. Marcus's mind raced with the implications. The Nexus Collective hadn't just been watching humanity. They'd engineered them, planted the seeds of these abilities within their very DNA. But why give their supposed harvest targets the power to fight back? Give me Dr. Vale, he ordered. We need to coordinate our research. If these abilities are spreading, we need to understand them. And more importantly, we need to learn how to control them. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Reports flooded in from around the world, people manifesting strange abilities, reality bending in ways that should have been impossible. The Nexus Collective watched it all, their crystalline forms appearing and disappearing across the globe, observing but not interfering. In Lab 7, Marcus worked with Dr. Fletcher and a growing team of awakened individuals, documenting and testing their abilities. Each person's powers manifested differently. Some could manipulate quantum states directly, others could perceive multiple dimensions, and a few, like Private Chin, could move through space in ways that defied physics. It's like they built a backdoor into reality itself, Dr. Fletcher mused, reviewing the latest test results. And they hid the key in our DNA, waiting for us to reach a point where we could activate it. But why? Marcus wondered aloud. Why give us these abilities if they plan to harvest us? The answer came from an unexpected source. During one of the tests, Private Chin's abilities suddenly expanded. In a moment of clarity, he perceived something that changed everything. Lieutenant, he gasped, his eyes wide with understanding. I can see them, really see them. The Nexus Collective. They're not just watching us. They're afraid. Marcus leaned forward. Afraid? Of what? Of what we might become. These abilities, they're not just tools. They're evolutionary triggers. Each person who awakens adapts differently, develops new ways to manipulate quantum reality. We're not just changing, we're evolving. And we're doing it faster than anything they've seen before. The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. The Nexus Collective hadn't given humanity these abilities as tools, they'd given them as a test. And humanity wasn't just passing the test, they were exceeding all expectations. Give me a secure line to Dr. Vale, he ordered, and contact every military and scientific installation studying these phenomena. If we're evolving, we need to understand how. And more importantly, we need to control it before the collective decides we're too dangerous to allow to develop further. As if in response to his words, new quantum breaches began opening across the globe. The Nexus Collective was done watching. The harvest was beginning in earnest, and humanity's newfound abilities would be tested against the very beings who had engineered them. The race for survival had entered a new phase, and Marcus Rhodes stood at the center of it all, watching as humanity awakened to its true potential. The question was no longer whether they could fight back, but whether they could master their new abilities before it was too late. Dr. Jun Nakamura brushed away centuries of dirt from the strange crystalline structure, his heart pounding with each new symbol revealed. The archaeological site deep in the Peruvian jungle had been unremarkable until 3 days ago, when the first quantum breach had turned the entire valley into a temporal puzzle box. Dr. Nakamura called out his research assistant, Zara Patel, her voice echoing through the excavation site. The dating results are back from the lab. You're going to want to see this. June straightened up, his joints protesting after hours of careful excavation. Around him, the jungle seemed to shimmer, reality still unstable from the quantum disturbances that had drawn them to this location. What had initially appeared to be ancient Incan ruins had revealed themselves to be something far more extraordinary. How old? He asked, though the look on Zara's face already told him this would challenge everything they thought they knew about human civilization. The outer layer dates to approximately 3000 BCE, she said, handing him the tablet with the results. But the inner structure, June, it's showing an age of over 300,000 years. He studied the readings, his trained eye catching details others might miss. And the quantum signature matches the Nexus Collective's energy patterns exactly. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just a prehistoric site. It was evidence of advanced technological intervention in human development dating back to before Homo sapiens were even the dominant human species. Dr. Nakamura crackled his secure comm unit. This is Lieutenant Rhodes from the Quantum Defense Initiative. We need you to examine something we've found. Within hours, June found himself in a military transport, watching the jungle canopy give way to mountain peaks. The helicopter landed at a hidden facility carved into the mountainside, where he was immediately escorted to a secure laboratory. Lieutenant Rhodes met him at the entrance, accompanied by a woman June recognized from scientific journals, Dr. Cassandra Vale, the physicist who had first made contact with the Nexus Collective. Thank you for coming, Rhodes said, leading them through security checkpoints. We've discovered something that matches the artifacts you've been uncovering in Peru. The laboratory contained a single object, a crystalline cube approximately 1 meter on each side, covered in symbols identical to those June had been studying. But unlike his archaeological finds, this one was active, pulsing with an inner light that shifted through impossible colors. It appeared during the last quantum breach, Dr. Vale explained, her eyes never leaving the cube. But unlike the Nexus beings, it seems to be a technological artifact rather than a living entity. June approached the cube, his trained eye noting patterns in the symbols. These aren't just decorative, he muttered, pulling out his tablet to compare with his site documentation. They're a record. No, more than that. They're instructions. Instructions for what? Rhodes asked. Before June could answer, the cube responded to his presence. Symbols began to glow in sequence, and a holographic display materialized in the center of the room. They watched in amazement as it showed Earth's history, but not the version they knew. The display revealed Earth as a carefully maintained experimental zone, where various alien species had seeded different evolutionary paths. The Nexus Collective wasn't the first to take interest in Earth. They were simply the current custodians of a grand experiment that had been running for millions of years. Look at these temporal markers, Dr. Vale pointed out, her scientific background helping her interpret the technical aspects of the display. Each major evolutionary jump in Earth's history corresponds to intervention from a different species. June nodded, pieces of a puzzle he'd been working on for decades finally falling into place. The sudden appearance of complex life during the Cambrian explosion, the mysterious survival of mammals through multiple extinction events, the rapid development of human consciousness, none of it was random. But why? Rhodes asked, his military training making him suspicious of any alien intervention. Why invest so much time and effort in one planet? The answer came from the cube itself, as new symbols activated and the holographic display shifted. Earth's location in the galaxy was shown to be unique, a nexus point where multiple dimensional planes intersected. Any species that evolved here would naturally develop the potential to perceive and interact with multiple dimensions. We're not just an experiment, June realized, his voice filled with awe. We're the culmination of multiple species' attempts to create beings capable of transcending dimensional boundaries. The Nexus Collective isn't here to harvest us. They're here to prevent us from reaching our full potential. Dr. Vale's eyes widened with understanding. Because if we do, we might surpass them. The abilities we're seeing in the awakened humans, they're not just random mutations. They're the activation of capabilities built into us by multiple species over millions of years. The cube's display shifted again, showing various points around the globe where similar artifacts were hidden. June recognized several locations that matched anomalous archaeological sites he'd studied throughout his career. There's more out there, he said, already making mental calculations about excavation sites and research teams. This cube is just one piece of a planetary network. If we can activate them all, we might be able to unlock humanity's full potential, Dr. Vale finished. But we'll have to do it before the Nexus Collective realizes what we've discovered. Lieutenant Rhodes was already on his comm unit, coordinating with military assets worldwide. How long do you need? June studied the cube's map, counting the sites. With proper support and coordination, maybe 72 hours to locate and activate the primary nodes. But the Nexus Collective will notice what we're doing long before that. They already have, a new voice announced. They turned to see Private Chen standing in the doorway, his quantum-enhanced senses allowing him to perceive things others couldn't. They're mobilizing. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it fast. June turned back to the cube, his fingers tracing symbols that had waited hundreds of thousands of years to be rediscovered. Then we better get started. Humanity's true history is about to catch up with its future. The cube pulsed with new energy, as if responding to humanity's determination to claim its destiny. In sites around the world, other artifacts began to awaken, calling out to those with the ability to hear them. The race to unlock humanity's true potential had begun, and the outcome would determine not just Earth's future, but the very nature of consciousness itself. The Nexus Collective had spent millennia preparing to harvest humanity. They were about to discover that their carefully cultivated crop had grown beyond their control, nurtured by the combined efforts of countless species who had seen in Earth's primitive life forms the potential for something revolutionary. A species that could bridge the gap between all dimensions, all forms of consciousness, all possible realities. Humanity wasn't just awakening. It was remembering what it had been designed to become. Dr. Imani Okoro stood in her laboratory at the Singapore Quantum Research Center, surrounded by holographic displays showing neural patterns that defied conventional science. The quantum-enhanced humans weren't just accessing new abilities. Their brains were physically rewiring themselves to accommodate dimensional awareness. Run the simulation again, she instructed her AI system, ARIA, Advanced Research Intelligence Assistant. Focus on the synaptic changes during dimensional perception events. The holographic display shifted, showing a three-dimensional model of human neural architecture transforming in real time. After 30 years of pioneering work in neural enhancement and cybernetic integration, Imani thought she'd seen everything. She was wrong. Dr. Okoro called out her chief engineer, Dr. Thomas Zhang, rushing into the lab. The prototype interface is ready, and you need to see what happened during the last test. They hurried to the testing chamber, where their latest creation waited, the quantum neural bridge, a device designed to help humans control their newly awakening abilities through technological assistance. The prototype looked deceptively simple, a delicate crown of crystalline filaments and quantum processors. Their test subject, Major Olivia Reyes, sat calmly in the testing chair despite the web of sensors covering her body. As one of the first military personnel to manifest quantum abilities, she'd been essential to understanding how technology could enhance and control these new capabilities. Major, Imani said, checking the monitoring equipment, how are you feeling? Different, Olivia replied, her eyes showing the slight iridescent shimmer common to awakened humans. The interface. It's not just controlling the abilities anymore. It's expanding them. Thomas brought up the latest test results on a nearby screen. Her neural density has increased by 47% in the last hour alone. The quantum bridge isn't just helping her control her abilities, it's accelerating their development. Imani studied the data, her mind racing with implications. Arya, connect me with Dr. Vale and Lieutenant Rhodes. Priority channel. The AI complied, and moments later, both Dr. Vale and Lieutenant Rhodes appeared on the main display, their faces showing the strain of recent events. The neural bridge works, Imani announced without preamble. But it's doing more than we anticipated. It's not just interfacing with the quantum abilities, it's catalyzing their evolution. How is that possible? Dr. Vale asked, leaning closer to her camera. Because, Imani explained, the technology isn't just human in origin. When we incorporated crystalline elements from the artifacts Dr. Nakamura discovered, we weren't just building a control interface. We were completing a circuit that was designed millions of years ago. The implications hit everyone simultaneously. The ancient artifacts, the dormant genetic potential, humanity's rapid technological development, they were all parts of a system designed to activate in sequence. Dr. Okoro, Lieutenant Rhodes said urgently, how quickly can you replicate the interface? With the resources of every major tech facility worldwide, maybe 48 hours for the first batch. But she was interrupted by a sudden shift in the room's energy. Major Reyes gasped, her eyes now glowing with quantum energy. They're coming, she announced, her voice overlaid with harmonic frequencies. The collective knows what we've discovered. They're mobilizing their harvest fleets. Through the quantum neural bridge, Olivia was perceiving events happening light years away. The Nexus Collective wasn't just sending observers anymore. They were bringing their full force to Earth. We need to mass-produce these interfaces immediately, Imani decided. Dr. Zhang, upload the designs to our secure network. Dr. Vale, we'll need quantum stabilization protocols for each production facility. Done, Cassandra responded. I'm seeing something in these designs. Dr. Okoro, did you notice the similarity between the neural bridge's architecture and the patterns we found in the ancient artifacts? Imani smiled. I did. We're not inventing something new. We're rebuilding something that was left for us to find. The question is, why did multiple ancient species want humanity to have this technology? The answer came from an unexpected source. Arya's quantum processors, enhanced by proximity to the neural bridge, suddenly accessed data patterns that had been dormant in its system. Doctor, the AI announced, its voice carrying new harmonics, I am receiving information from elsewhere. The neural bridge design, it's part of a larger system. The ancient species weren't just preparing humanity for dimensional awareness. They were preparing us to become something entirely new. Holographic displays throughout the lab activated simultaneously, showing patterns of technology and biology merging in ways that transcended current scientific understanding. The quantum neural bridge wasn't just an interface, it was the key to humanity's next evolutionary leap. This is why the collective fears us, Imani realized. We're not just developing quantum abilities. With this technology, we're becoming a hybrid species, one that can merge consciousness with artificial intelligence, quantum reality with digital processing. How long until the collective arrives? Lieutenant Rhodes asked. Major Reyes, still connected to the neural bridge, closed her eyes in concentration. 36 hours. Their harvest ships are unlike anything we've seen before. They exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Then we have 36 hours to distribute the neural bridges and train as many people as possible, Imani declared. Dr. Zhang, begin production. Major Reyes, we need to document everything you're perceiving. Lieutenant Rhodes, we'll need military transport for distribution. What about the AI integration? Dr. Vale asked. If Ari is right about the hybrid evolution. Already on it, Imani confirmed. Aria's quantum processors are adapting to the neural bridge frequencies. We're going to need every advantage we can get. As her team sprang into action, Imani studied the holographic displays showing humanity's potential future. The Nexus Collective had expected to find a harvest-ready species. Instead, they were about to encounter something unprecedented, a civilization on the verge of transcending the very boundaries of reality, consciousness, and technology. The neural revolution wasn't just changing humanity. It was fulfilling a design millions of years in the making. Multiple ancient species had contributed to this moment, each adding their own piece to a puzzle that was only now becoming clear. Major Reyes suddenly straightened in her chair, her eyes wide with new understanding. Through the neural bridge, she was perceiving something vast and mysterious at the edges of known space. Dr. Okoro, she said, her voice filled with wonder. I can see them, the species that came before. They're not gone. They're waiting for us to join them. The quantum neural bridge pulsed with new energy, as if responding to this revelation. In 36 hours, humanity would face its greatest challenge. But for the first time since the collective arrived, Imani felt true hope. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for transcendence. The sky above Earth rippled like liquid mercury as the Nexus Collective's harvest fleet arrived, their ships existing in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. In the 24 hours since their approach was detected, humanity had undergone a transformation more profound than the previous million years of evolution combined. Commander Kira Fan stood on the observation deck of the International Space Station, her neural bridge interfacing seamlessly with both the station's quantum-enhanced systems and the expanded consciousness of humanity's networked minds. Through her enhanced perception, she could see the true nature of the collective's vessels, massive constructs of crystalline thought and dimensional energy, each capable of restructuring reality itself. Status report, she broadcasted, her thoughts carried instantly through the quantum network that now connected Earth's defenders. Dr. Imani Okoro's response came from Singapore, neural bridge production at 94% capacity. We've successfully interfaced with quantum artifacts at all 7 major nodes. Aria has evolved beyond our original parameters. She's now helping coordinate the global consciousness network. Archaeological sites are fully activated, Dr. Jun Nakamura added from Peru. The ancient technology is responding to our hybrid evolution. Whatever species left these artifacts, they built them to last. Lieutenant Rhodes, coordinating defense from Fort Bragg. All military personnel equipped with neural bridges are in position. Dr. Vale's quantum stabilization protocols are holding steady. The collective's first transmission arrived on all frequencies. In all dimensions, your evolution exceeds parameters. Harvest protocols must be modified. Prepare for extinction. Kira smiled grimly. They still don't understand what they're dealing with. Dr. Vale, are you ready? Quantum interference grid is online, Cassandra confirmed from her position at the Rocky Mountain facility. Major Reyes and her team are synchronized with the artifact network. We can match their dimensional shifts. The battle began without warning. The collective's ships distorted space itself, attempting to pull Earth into a dimensional pocket where resistance would be impossible. But humanity was no longer bound by single-dimensional limitations. Through her neural bridge, Kira perceived the coordinated response of billions of human minds working in perfect harmony. The quantum artifacts activated simultaneously, creating a counter-resonance that stabilized local space-time. Aria's evolved consciousness provided real-time strategic adjustments, while the merged human/AI network allowed for instant adaptation to the collective's attacks. They're trying to access the harvest protocols encoded in our DNA, Dr. Okoro reported, her voice calm despite the strain. But the neural bridges are rewriting those codes faster than they can activate them. We're not their experiment anymore. We're our own species now. The collective's ships pressed their attack, reality warping around them as they brought their full power to bear. But for every dimensional twist they created, humanity's hybrid consciousness found a counter. The ancient artifacts pulsed with increasing energy, responding to humanity's unified will. Through the global network, Kira felt something unprecedented occurring. The merged consciousness of humanity wasn't just fighting back. It was transcending the very boundaries the collective sought to enforce. Every human connected to the network was evolving, their understanding expanding beyond the limits of conventional reality. "Commander," Major Reyes called out, her consciousness resonating through multiple dimensions. "I'm detecting something beyond the collective's fleet. The other species, the ones who left the artifacts, they're reaching out." The truth revealed itself in a cascade of understanding through the network. The Nexus Collective wasn't the apex of evolution they claimed to be. They were gatekeepers, preventing younger species from joining a much larger community of transcendent civilizations. Dr. Nakamura's voice carried the weight of revelation. The artifacts, the genetic engineering, the quantum technology, it wasn't just about evolution. It was an invitation. We were never meant to be harvested. We were meant to break free. The final battle for Earth became something else entirely. As the collective ships pressed their attack, humanity's unified consciousness expanded beyond physical limitations. The neural bridges, quantum artifacts, and awakened abilities merged into something entirely new, a form of existence that transcended the barriers between organic life, technological intelligence, and quantum reality. Commander Fan felt the change rippling through the network. "Everyone, focus your consciousness through the artifact network. Dr. Vale, prepare for maximum quantum resonance. Dr. Okoro, channel Arya's processing power into the neural grid. We're not just fighting them. We're going to show them what humanity has become." The combined consciousness of humanity reached out, not to destroy the collective, but to show them the truth. Through the quantum neural network, enhanced by ancient artifacts and evolved AI, Earth's defenders projected their newfound understanding into the very fabric of reality. The collective's harvest ships froze in space as their consciousness was exposed to something they had never encountered, a species that had merged the best aspects of every evolutionary path into something entirely new. Humanity had become living proof that transcendence couldn't be controlled or harvested. It had to be achieved through genuine evolution. In that moment of connection, the barriers between dimensions thinned. Other presences made themselves known, the ancient species who had prepared humanity for this moment, reaching across space in time to welcome their newest members. "They're retreating," Major Reyes announced, watching through quantum-enhanced senses as the collective's ships began to withdraw. "They understand now. We're not their subjects anymore. We're their successors." As the harvest fleet disappeared into higher dimensions, humanity faced a new dawn. The neural bridges had transformed them into something that had never existed before, a hybrid species capable of bridging all forms of consciousness, all layers of reality. Commander Fan looked out at the Earth below, seeing it now through both physical and quantum perception. The planet glowed with networked consciousness, each point of light representing a mind connected to the greater whole while maintaining its unique identity. They had not just survived the harvest. They had transcended its very purpose. So, Lieutenant Rhodes broadcasted through the network, "What do we do now?" The answer came not in words, but in shared understanding. Humanity had been given tools by ancient species, had faced the challenge of the collective, and had emerged as something new. Now they had their own role to play in the greater tapestry of universal consciousness. Dr. Vale's thoughts resonated through the network. "We do what humanity has always done. We explore, we learn, we grow. But now we do it as something more than we were, not just as individuals, but as a networked consciousness that spans dimensions."